morning, professionals. In our Global Corporate Law webinar series, we've been discussing and trying to understand the global corporate law provisions. And our first corporate law webinar series on this front, we started with Singapore Companies Act. So we discussed in the initial chapter about how to incorporate a company in Singapore, dealing with the statutory provisions and the practical aspects to it. In the second week, we discussed about how foreign companies incorporate their companies in Singapore. Then we discussed the next week about how foreign companies establish their place of business in Singapore. We discussed also about how directors are governed under Singapore Companies Act. In continuation of this week we are going to discuss about how auditors are governed under Singapore Companies Act. Sincere thanks to Mr. Sundar for this presentation. These are the legends used in today's presentation. Quite simple provisions, friends. The agenda for today's presentation will be to first deal with appointment of auditors and which are those companies where there is an exemption, statutory exemption available for appointing such auditors. Exemption is applicable only in certain cases, and hence exception to such exemption is dealt with in the subsequent slide. We are also discussing about the powers and duties of auditors, removal of auditors, resignation of auditors, appointment of new auditor in the place of resigning auditor, and the remuneration of auditors. First, let us discuss about the appointment of auditors. The mode and manner of appointment of auditors. Director of a company shall appoint an accounting entity or entities to be the auditors. So the timeline within which they have to be appointed will be within 3 months from the date of incorporation. And they shall hold office till the conclusion of first AGM of the company. AGM is annual general meeting. Company at each AGM appoints accounting entity or entities to be auditors, and their tenure shall cease during the first AGM if the directors are not appointing such auditors, which is their obligation. Then the registrar, after obtaining an application in writing from any member of the company, may make such appointment. The registrar has authority in the event of directors not appointing. We discussed in the first slide about accounting entity or entities will be appointed as auditors. So let us understand who are these accounting entities. So accounting entity means a public accountant, an accounting corporation, an accounting firm, or an accounting LLP as defined in section 4 subsection 1. Public accountant is who is registered or deemed to be registered under Accountants Act as a public accountant. Accounting corporation or firm or LLP likewise will be company or firm or LLP approved or deemed to be approved as accounting corporation or firm or LLP under this Accountants Act. Having understood the manner and mode of such appointment of auditors, let us also see the governing provisions where there is an exemption available from appointing such auditors. So there are two broad classifications. One for a dormant company and the another for a small company. Here, section 205B clearly states that a company is a dormant company during a period in which no accounting transactions occur. Company shall be dormant from the date of its incorporation or since the end of the preceding financial year. A small company again is a small company based on the threshold as prescribed, where you have to comply with at least 2 out of the 3 criterions as prescribed in the section, and more importantly it should be a private company. So it should be a private company throughout the financial year, and company's annual revenue is up to 10 million Singapore dollars, or value of the total assets is up to 10 million at the end of each financial year, or has not more than 50 employees at the end of each financial year. So, this small company shall comply with at least two of these criteria. And in case of a company which has not completed 2 financial years, so recently formed company, then there is a provision which says that two of such three criterions shall be satisfied in respect of either first financial or second financial year as the case may be. Subsidiary company shall be considered as a small company if such company is part of a small group. Again, a group is considered as a small group if it satisfies any of those two out of three criterions as discussed in the previous slide by replacing the word company with group in the instant case. While in the second segment we discussed about exemption from appointment of auditors, there is also an exception. There is a caveat attached to such exemption being granted. What is that? Registrar, if he is satisfied that there has been a breach of any of the provisions as enshrined in section 199 or 201 of Singapore Companies Act or in public interest, it may, even for a small or dormant company, even if they satisfy the criterions as prescribed, two out of those three criteria, and being a private company in case of a small company, they may lift the exemption as provided. So what does section 199 say? It talks about maintenance of accounting records and systems of control. 201 talks about adopting the financial statement before the annual general meeting by the directors. So if these two are not complied with, then registrar has the prerogative to lift the exemption as granted to these exempted companies. And it may require the company to lodge with them within such time as specified in the notice, the audited financial statement and auditor's report. There are wide powers and duties for auditors. As always, they have access to information and explanation of the company. They have access to all the accounting records, bookkeeping documents, and all other registers of the company. And when they are audit of parent company, information and explanation, they are certainly having every right to access to such information and explanation of the subsidiary company as well. They are entitled to attend the AGM of the company, receive all notices, communications relating to what the company is sharing with general meeting, relating to the general meeting with any member of the company, and right to be heard at such meetings about any concerns. And their duties will be, more importantly, to ensure that the company is in compliance with the requirement of accounting standards and to give a true and fair view of the affairs of the company, more importantly, the financial affairs, and the report to also confirm about whether adequate accounting records are maintained by the company and whether they have obtained all information and explanation in consonance with the wide powers attached to them, and whether the returns received from the branches of the company are adequate for them to confirm about the true and fair view of the affairs, and immediate reporting of any material breach to the registrar, which is very important. And where there is an offence which involves fraud or dishonesty, they shall immediately report the matter to ministry because it is of a serious offence in nature. Let us discuss about the remuneration to auditors. In case an auditor is appointed in general meeting of the company, it shall be so fixed by the company in general meeting, or they can provide authority to the board members, to the director at the AGM, stating that the remuneration may be fixed by the directors. If the auditors are so appointed by the registrar, it shall be fixed by either the directors or registrar, and if it is not fixed by either of them, then it shall be fixed in the general meeting, where either in general meeting or the general meeting, the members provide authority to the directors to fix the remuneration. And disclosure of auditors' remuneration. Companies are mandatorily required to provide such disclosure regarding remuneration if such request is made by at least 5% of the total members of the company, or shareholders who hold at least 5% of the total number of issued company shares, excluding treasury shares. So what do you mean by treasury shares? Again, those shares which are acquired by the company itself through various modes. So as prescribed in section 76B to 76G. Over and above that, the 5% of the issued shares or 5% of the members, they have a right to place a requisition for the company to disclose the remuneration. Appointment of new auditor in the place of resigning auditor. If an auditor of a non-public interest company, we will discuss about what is the definition of public interest company and a non-public interest company in the subsequent slides, friends. So, a non-public interest company gives notice of resignation under 205 WA1. Public interest company or a subsidiary of such company gives notice of resignation under 205 AB subsection 1. The registrar, if so approves the resignation, the directors shall immediately convene a general meeting, and within 3 months of such auditor's resignation, they shall appoint another auditor in the place of the resigning auditor. And when such new auditor is appointed, like any other filing where within 14 days you have to give a notification to the registrar, you shall disseminate the information. What if the director fails to appoint an auditor in the place of resigning auditor? Then registrar has the power on application again in writing made by the member, like how when the company is not appointing an auditor, the registrar assumes the power. Similarly, here, if the director is failing to appoint another auditor in the place of resigning auditor, then the registrar on an application makes appointment. And 205 AF subsection 1 and 2 shall not apply. The financial statements are not required to be audited. When they are falling well within the exemption provision, then in such case 205 AF 1 and 2, where director shall appoint within the 3 months and the registrar on failure of the directors to appoint. So these two subsections will not apply. An auditor appointed in the place of resigning auditor, unless he is removed or he submits his resignation, shall hold office till the next AGM of the company, like how an original auditor assumes office till the AGM. Public interest company. Here we have the definition. A company which is listed or in the process of issuing its debt or equity instruments in listing for trading in Singapore Stock Exchange or such other company as the minister may prescribe. A company other than a public interest company will be a non-public interest company. Resignation of non-public interest company auditors. An auditor of a non-public interest company other than a company which is a subsidiary of again a public interest company may give this resignation by providing a notice. Such notice of resignation where the auditor's term of office expires, he may state at the end of the day on which the notice is so given, or if the notice specifies a time on a later day, at that time he ceases to be in the office of auditor of the company. Within 14 days, this company shall lodge with the registrar notification of the fact in such form as the registrar may require regarding the notice of the resignation of auditor in a non-public interest company. Now let us discuss about how resignation of auditor takes effect in a public interest company. In a public interest company or a subsidiary of a public interest company, an auditor may, by giving a notice of resignation in writing, resign before the end of his term of office for which he is so appointed, but there are certain conditions to it. It is not normal submission of notice and then registrar taking into cognizance of the fact that this particular auditor has resigned. Here, consent is required to be obtained. Hence, there is this demarcation of resignation of auditor in a public interest company and a non-public interest company. So, in a public interest company and a subsidiary of such public interest company, auditor shall provide for a written statement in writing. More importantly, he shall give the reasons for his resignation. And at or about the same time of the application, notify the company in writing of this particular application to the registrar. And provided the company with a written statement of his reason for his resignation. And in which case, it is very important that the consent of registrar has been given to take into record such resignation of auditor. Registrar, as soon as practicable, after receiving such application from auditor, giving the written statement of resignation, explaining the reasons for resignation, notify such auditor and also the company whether it is granting consent for such resignation. And resignation shall take effect on any of these three scenarios. One, on the day which is stated by the auditor in the notice of resignation, it will be taken into effect, or on the day when the registrar notifies the company and the auditor about his consent for taking into records resignation, or registrar has his own authority and power to fix any other date for the purpose of taking into effect removal of auditors. An auditor may be removed by resolution of the company at a general meeting, of which special notice has been given, but not otherwise. So, without giving a special notice, an auditor cannot be removed from his office under section 205 subsection 4 of the Act. Where special notice of a resolution is received by a company to remove an auditor, what are the steps to be taken? Shall immediately send a copy of such notice to the auditor and also to the registrar. And the auditor, within 7 days of receipt of such notice, may make a representation in writing to the company and request that prior to the meeting, such resolution, which is going to be considered for removal of the auditor, a copy of this representation also be circulated to the members to whom the notice of the meeting is also being sent. Unless on application of company otherwise orders, the company shall send such copy of the representation as requested by the auditor, and in addition to this right, the auditor's right to be here early, this representation be also read out at the meeting. 205 section 7, an auditor is removed in pursuance of this section 205 subsection 4, company by resolution passed by at least 75% of the members of the company who are entitled to vote either in person or by proxy, immediately appoint another accounting entity as auditors. Or the meeting may be adjourned at a date not earlier than 20 days but and not later than 30 days after this meeting, and company may also appoint by ordinary resolution another accounting entity. So they have an alternative option of appointing either in the same meeting or in the adjourned meeting by passing an ordinary resolution. Notice of whose nomination is sent at least 10 days before this resumption of the adjourned meeting as received by the company. 205 subsection 8 says immediately after the removal of such auditor, pursuant to section 205 subsection 4, this company shall give notice in writing of such removal to the registrar, and if the company does not appoint another auditor under 205 subsection 7, where 75% or by ordinary resolution in the adjourned meeting, the registrar may appoint an auditor. And this auditor who is so appointed under section 205 subsection 7 or subsection 8 shall hold office till the conclusion of annual general meeting of the company. So today we discussed about how auditors are governed under the provisions of Companies Act, where we discussed about the appointment of auditors, the timeline, the manner and mode of such appointment, the notification to be given to the registrar. Then we discussed about exemption for certain companies, dormant and small companies, where on complying with the criterion prescribed, they have an exemption from appointing auditors. And there again, there is an exception, caveat attached to this particular exemption, where registrar can lift it in certain circumstances. Then we discussed about the remuneration to be given to auditors, how it can be approved in the general meeting or authority given to the directors for fixing such remuneration. Then how such disclosure of remuneration in what circumstances, when there is a request being made by the members, it shall be placed along with the financial statement before the members. Then we discussed about the removal of auditors and how an auditor shall be appointed in the place of the removed auditor and the powers and duties of auditors. So with this, we conclude this webinar, friends. Thank you very much. Take care, stay safe, stay positive.